like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have personal appeals. If anyone has a personal appeal, please approach the podium and sign in. Hearing none, does anybody have a community minute to bring forward?
I'll throw a couple things out. Next Monday is our e-waste recycling for electronic waste, so that is open. And Zumba still continues, but it's at a church now instead of being down at the park, so it's a good event. And this Saturday at 10 a.m. a very merry Halloween at the 1803 house.
What time does the e-waste end at? I know it starts at 12.
6 o'clock, right, Shane?
I believe so.
12 to 6?
So, Shane, is that the last one? Because we always
Yeah,
set a
it's on our-
start
you know what,
date and an
it's-
end date.
We missed
It's on our
January,
website.
February, March is what we missed. It's the three
Or is it December,
winter
January,
months.
February?
I think it's the three winter months, which is January, February, and March. I mean, yeah,
It's
January.
it's on our borough
I think it's what it
website.
is.
Okay, I can't remember, I couldn't remember.
December,
It was
January,
5
February.
that we were closed, or 3? Okay.
Anyhow, it's 3 months total
But
that we don't do
It is
it.
great. I see some TVs at the curb, so a reminder, you can get rid of them for free. So use it.
Thank you. No special presentations tonight.
Oh,
Read-
wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One more
Wes, go ahead.
community minute. Just a reminder, the Halloween in Emmaus 5K race is October 21st before the parade starts at 7 p.m. This year, as I often promise, hopes to be a banner year, though the numbers are significantly higher than usual. We're already at 312 runners registered. Yeah, usually we're somewhere in the 200s right now, so we're ahead of the schedule, which is a good thing.
Did I? Oh.
So
Do I get a kickback for having my entire wrestling team on your?
that's right. That's right. We've got 31 wrestlers from the Emmaus wrestling
That's
team that'll
right.
be running this year as well.
Yep.
Is there a theme to
So-
it this year? Any type of?
No, you can always dress. We have a few different costume contests that always come into play, and those usually have to do with the sponsors that end up. So we usually, about 10 days out, decide what those will be, and then people can put theirs together, and it'll be posted on the website, emmaus5k.com.
And last but not least, did you close out your short shirt pre-order? I think I saw.
Yeah, we do have a few extras. Again, since we're ahead of schedule, we pre-order all of that stuff to be more cost effective. We order multiple years at a time, so it's hard to gauge exactly where we'll be at that cutoff date. But there are still some shirts, so if you sign up right away.
Awesome.
Just
Go ahead.
clarification on the e-recycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one more in November, and then December, January, February, it's closed.
Okay.
And it is 12 to 6 on the second Monday.
Thank you.
In case the snow's in
Awesome.
the way.
And then I have one thing too.
Go ahead.
The Emmaus Arts Commission will be kicking off their 13th annual film festival on October 10th at 6 p.m. at the Emmaus High School.
Great.
May I add one? I see we have a couple of scouts here tonight, and we wanted to acknowledge them for coming in and being part of our meeting. Thank you back there.
All right, we move to reading of the minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the September 18th council meeting minutes? Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Questions or discussions, corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Decisions on bids. We have the Public Works Facility Pole Building. We discussed this in the Budget and Finance Committee. If you go to your tab and also on your desk, you have a, I guess, simplified, there's 3 different parts. And it was recommended from the Budget and Finance Committee to approve these. The first is to contract Dutchman Contracting for the building for a cost of $120,886. Is there a motion to approve that? Councilman Shipstead, seconded by Councilwoman Gilbert. Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Then there was the second part of hiring John Zagora as a consulting service for the concrete at a fee of $13,000. Is there a motion to approve Zagora? Councilwoman Gilbert, second. Councilman Schubsta, questions or comments? I will just make a comment that I was in support of this project from the beginning. I fought for it. But I'm going to be voting no because during the budget process, I know that we said if we didn't have enough money, we would go to the next year and put the concrete floor in. I'm against the taking the money from the contingency fund. We seem to be dipping into that fund a lot, and I don't like doing that. I don't think we should do that. It's there for a reason. It's not a slush fund, and some people may think that. That's not what I believe. And I think if we really believe in this project, we should come up with the money elsewhere from our budget, not from the contingency fund. So I'll be voting no. So with that being said, Councilman Brown.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lingberg, for your thoughts there. And I'm going to be voting for this, just because in construction you just want to get the job done and get this thing, get the concrete in. The only concern I have is just making sure it gets done within the next couple weeks, or whatever the time limit, so we can get that concrete poured and it can set. Make sure the weather can do that. That's my only concern, is how much time do we have. But besides that, I think get it all done, get it finished, and just move on. Get those trucks, equipment into that pole barn, and get that expensive equipment sheltered. So thanks.
Councilman Anders.
My main thing, and I'm one that was very pro for this, was that we have spent a good amount of money on equipment that needs to be kept inside. And
It
is
still will be
outside.
kept inside.
It will be. But I think if things need to be worked on, and that it would be easier on our employees to be working on concrete versus in the stone. And I see the need to get it done now, so my view is to
Okay.
approve it.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. There were 6 ayes and 1 no. And the last part was to make a motion to approve the total project cost of $153,000, $153,173, with $100,000 coming from the Department of Public Works building line item and $30,000 out of the lift line item and $23,173 out of the contingency fund. Is there a motion to approve that? Councilwoman Gilbert, seconded by Councilman Schubsta. I'll be voting no for the same reason I said the last time, for taking money out of contingency fund. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. There would be 6 ayes and 1 no. Moving on to communications, we have 3 tonight. Janet Rader Burton of 304 Main Street sent a letter of resignation in for the Emmaus Arts Commission. Her term was going to expire in 2019. So please send a thank you letter to her for her service. And we have plenty of spots now because we expanded them. Well,
Not yet,
we
but
will be.
close.
Yeah, we'll be there. We have a letter from Althea Sal from 632 Spruce Street, letter of resignation for the Board of Health. She is moving out of the borough. Her term expired in 2019 also. Send a letter of thank you for her. I believe she's been on there a while,
Yeah, she's been there quite a long time.
like longer than a decade, I think. So anyhow, please send her our thanks and best of luck with her move. And then we got a letter from Tara Santoro from 302 Windsor Place, Macungie, requesting an appointment to the Emmaus Arts Commission. Is any committee
So
ready
she
to take
couldn't-
action on this, or does
No,
she
she
have to
had-
be interviewed yet?
She needs to be interviewed. She couldn't make tonight.
And that will go to the
CRD.
CRD, okay. So I will refer that to CRD. Anybody else have a letter to bring forward? All right.
I have one.
Okay.
It's on my desk this evening. It's from an out-of-town resident, but he makes some valid concerns. It's from Carl Coleman from Allentown. He has some issues with Turkey Hill and the parking in that area. So I
So-
have seen the parking in that area myself, so.
It's only been for 20 years.
Well, it's a little different now, so we'll talk about this at Public Safety.
Okay. All right, and
That's
then you'll submit that for the record then. Thank you. Anybody else? There's no borough engineers report, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the record, the Supreme Court refused to hear the fireman's case, as you're aware. I have prepared, just so you know, there is an option to go for a re-argument. It's a waste of time. I don't want to spend your money on that. There are other options that I have come up with. I have kept it to one page. I know that Shane has some negotiations and things to discuss with you tonight. I'll be glad to do it in 2 weeks. There's no time frame really on it as far as I can tell at this point. It takes 30 days for the order to be final, so no one can do anything within 30 days anyway. But I did come up with some options. Tom also wrote a brief memo on certain matters. I ask, though, that you keep this confidential, and if there's something you don't understand, please feel free to call me. I've thought about it quite a bit, and we have options. Schmidt grievance is proceeding. Wanted you to be aware of that. And I am working on a lease for 10 Minor Street for the parking lot, which should be done this week. And they have already, on an oral understanding, have already been given the right to park their vehicles there. I talked to their lawyer today in depth. Surprisingly, one would think that a lease is simple, but when you're dealing with corporate levels, and when I looked up all their corporate materials online, I couldn't tell which corporation I was dealing with, and so I'm going to be getting all that information from their lawyer. But the rest is, I've got it laid out, and I should be able to finish it in a day or two. That's all I have.
Thank you. I think that council members should take this home, read it, and we'll discuss it in 2 weeks, and we'll just deal with the contract issues tonight. We have enough on our plate, and that gives us time to read this then. All right? Moving on to unfinished business, part 1, we have ordinance 1162 for a second reading, an ordinance amending chapter 15, subsection 404A of the codified ordinances, eliminating parking on portions of the south side of East Minor Street. This was your committee, Lee?
Yeah.
Any
This is still.
any notes on it? Pretty
Nah,
much.
still dealing with 7 gens.
Yeah. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1162? Councilman Anders, seconded by Councilman Brown. Any questions or discussion? It's a roll call vote. Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Councilman Schubsta?
Aye.
Councilman Anders?
Aye.
Councilman Barrett?
Aye.
Councilman Dufresne?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilman Labenberg? Aye. There are 7 ayes. There's no new business. Unfinished business, part 2. Looks like we have 2 ordinances that will have their second reading on October 16th.
So your zoning change will require a public hearing.
So that
It will.
before our meeting.
It's a map amendment. Yes.
Yeah. I do anticipate some people from the neighborhood being here, so I think you will definitely hear some public feedback on that. There are some concerns. The feedback that I've received, and something for you guys to think about, is concerns about traffic.
And we're talking about Arch Street.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm hearing from a group of residents out there that there's concerns about increased traffic. I explained to the resident that, under the ordinances, they can already build single-family homes, but what they're proposing to do in the end is more than that. So I also explained to them the outlets, even if council votes to do this, because all you're doing at this meeting would be to move that lot line adjustment, which really has no impact whatsoever on the number of houses. Where the impact would be, it's actually outside of your control, that would end up being at the zoning hearing board. So I explained to them those outlets. So if you do hear that at the next meeting, the outlet will really be, as far as the type of housing, the outlet for them to voice their concerns would be at the zoning hearing board. But if council does oppose that kind of housing, we do have the right to send our solicitor or myself or somebody from the borough to represent you at the zoning hearing board to oppose that, if that's what you wanted to do in the end. So,
Okay.
just so you're aware.
Thank you for that explanation and what we should expect. Items not on the agenda. Anybody have anything to bring something forward? Mayor's report, you have a proclamation here.
Right. Thank you, Mr. President. I have a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week, Proclamation 2017-428 for October 8th to the 14th. Whereas the Borough of Emmaus is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our borough, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas new homes are built with lightweight materials that burn faster than older home constructions, as well as produce toxic gases and smoke when burned, making it impossible to see and breathe within moments. And whereas these conditions contribute to a much smaller window of time for people to escape a home fire safely, with people having as little as 1 or 2 minutes to escape from the time the smoke alarm sounds. And whereas a home fire escape plan provides a skill set and know-how to quickly and safely escape a home fire situation. And whereas practicing a home fire escape plan twice a year ensures that everyone in the household knows what to do in a real fire situation. And whereas first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection, education, and whereas the 2017 Fire Prevention Week theme, Every Second Counts, Plan 2 Ways Out, effectively serves to educate the public about the vital importance of developing a home fire escape plan with all. Now therefore, I, Winfield Yopes, Mayor of the Borough of Emmaus, do hereby proclaim October 8th to the 14th, 2017, as Fire Prevention Week throughout the borough. And I urge all the people of Emmaus to develop a home fire escape plan with all the members of the household and practice it twice a year, and to participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of the borough's fire and emergency services during Fire Prevention Week 2017, done the second day of October 2017 at the Borough of Emmaus, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. I took the proclamation up to the fire station today for next week. Okay. Progress.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We go to our committee reports now. Public Works Committee, Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing for official action tonight. Our next committee meeting will be October 9th here in council chambers at 3 p.m. Progress.
Thank you. Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee, Chairman Schupsta.
Yeah, we have nothing for official action. We discussed the electronic recycling that'll be open on Monday. So our next meeting is scheduled for October 19th at 4:15. A report progress.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairman Anders.
Nothing for official action this evening. We meet tomorrow at 4 p.m. here in Borough Chambers. Progress.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Chairwoman Gilbert.
Thank you. Nothing for official action this evening. However, you do have a memo from Chief Palmer in reference to 3 of our 4 hires. They will be completing their probationary period tomorrow, and he would like to recommend them for permanent status. No
Excellent.
action needs to be taken on our part.
Yeah, so let's just
Just a
make it clear.
congratulations.
The fourth one is meeting all of our expectations. He's actively serving in the military, so everything
military.
is on freeze for him. But he's doing very good as well, per Chief Palmer.
And when he comes back, he will finish his probationary period.
And he has, what, like 2 months left, that's it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were very lucky to get all 4 of them.
All are doing well, and I congratulate them all. Progress.
Thank you. General Administration Committee, Chairman Barrett.
Yes, we have one major item, the police contract. Mr. Pepe, I think you would do a better job of giving a little bit of a summary to it, or do we want to go right in and?
Well, yeah, so. We're done?
Yes, I know.
Hallelujah.
Well, that
Let's
was pretty
vote quick.
Yeah.
It's been a very good negotiation. I mean, they've been very cordial. We bent, they bent farther. The pay raises are a little higher than we had wished. However, at the end of the day, what we're getting back from them is gonna save this borough millions and millions of dollars. And our OPEB study that I sent to you last week, demonstrates that. We're talking millions of dollars, over 2 million a year, down the road. Their pay raises are between 4.0 and 4.6% or 4.7%, I believe. It's a 5-year contract. But new hires have no post-retirement health care. All employees will be paying towards their health care, and pension contributions go from 1.85 all the way up to 5%. Now that's stair-stepped over the 5-year period. In return, they got the pay raise, they got the drop program, but their pension contributions are more than paying for our increase in the MMO. So I think at the end of the day, we're paying a little more in short term than we had hoped, but the things that we've been trying to get for the last 20 years out of that contract are now on our side. So I think long-term wise, I think this is the most favorable contract the borough has probably ever negotiated with the police department. Short-term wise, they're not getting 6 or 7% pay increases, but they are getting, a fairly large pay increase. With that said, with what they're paying in their contributions, that pay increase is really a net of about 3% all the way across the board for them. So we felt that it was fair, and the directive from council, I think, was very reasonable throughout the process. But I think long-term, I think the citizens of this borough are going to save millions of dollars. And I think that was our focus from the beginning. I mean, we had a wish list, and we probably should have called it a dream list, because we didn't think for 1 second we were going to get what we got out of them. So I don't think at any point, other than maybe one time, did the negotiations get contentious. And that was just because I think everybody was tired after being there for 3 hours. But I think it was very fair on both sides. I don't think either side's walking away smiling, but I think we're both very satisfied with each side of the table. And Mr. Dufresne, Mr. Barrett, and Mr. Lavenberg were on that negotiating committee with me. And if you guys care to comment, if I'm accurate or if I'm just blowing smoke, please correct me.
I think that was a fair summary. I'd just like to add, somebody once told me that when both sides feel like they lost, you have a fair contract. And we didn't get everything we wanted, they didn't get everything they wanted. So I would say it's a fair contract.
Yeah.
And I was just going to add that, I mean, you really emphasized the cost savings, but also just the kind of infrastructure and landscape of this contract compared to previous contracts and likely future contracts is quite different than what we've kind of gone one direction, just repeated it and made some small tweaks. We made some substantial tweaks and changes in this contract. And I think, like Mr. Pepe said, the long-term savings are exactly where it's at, and that's really, really important to the long-term health of the borough.
We had a lot more, we made a lot of requests. I mean, we had 3 pages of bullet-pointed requests for these guys, and we got most of it. We got all the major items I think the council was looking for. We were able to sacrifice the little things that really wouldn't have made much of a difference. But as far as just, not that it's the best Obamacare clause, but we got a little bit of an Obamacare clause in there, just in case, that tax does kick in.
The Cadillac tax.
Correct.
I just want to point out, when we say long-term savings, we're not talking 5 or 10 years, we're talking 15, 20 years out, if not longer.
And beyond, yeah.
Yes.
That's what I would like to add to this. Very long-term, I think this is a very good contract for the borough from where it was headed with the health insurance. Short-term, a little bit of pain, but I think it's stuff that we can manage. The thing that we and future councils have to remember with the actuarial studies is there's only parts of that we can control. The rest is the market and some other things that we can't control. We have to make sure we control what we can control in that part, because that's what makes the studies. They're using certain assumptions there. We have to always keep those in mind when we make future decisions, because we can't control a big part of that. None of us can control what the market does. But we can control other things there, and we just have to be aware of that, or the numbers could go against us.
Correct.
But I think it's manageable.
Would anyone else like to make comments? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the police contract?
I'll make that motion.
Councilman Barrett makes the motion to approve the police contract, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. We have 1 contract down.
3 to go.
Yeah. Our next meeting is October 12th at 9 a.m. Progress.
Thank you. Budget and Finance Committee, that's myself. We have the bill list. Resolution 2017-29 is the bill list. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the bill list? Councilwoman Gilbert, seconded by Councilman Schubsta. Any questions or discussion on the bill list? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. That's all we have. Our next committee meeting is October 16th at 6:45 here in council chambers. I did have a question. I did look at our performance report or our budget report,
went through it.
and I was looking at the business privilege tax, and it was only like $16,000, and we budgeted $50,000.
Well,
What's going on there?
No, so I'm glad you actually brought that up. Over the weekend, I was going through that when I spent
I
the
mean, it
weekend.
popped right out at me.
Yeah, well, while I was spending the weekend writing the budget message, I was going through that, and I actually sent Dennis Goldie an email over the weekend asking what the deal with that was. I know that Mr. Goldie has dealt with a lot of challenges this year with software and things, so I'm hoping that it's a simple, he didn't process it and give it to us yet. But there's no reason why that number should look like it does.
I mean,
So-
if anything, we were within a couple thousand
Yeah.
every year.
So I'm waiting for a response from Mr. Goldie. I know that he was out of the office most of the day today, so I'm hoping to get a response from him tomorrow.
Thank
But
you.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I asked the same question.
I wanted to ask during our budget meeting, and I have a note here, and I just saw it now. Does anybody else have anything for budget and finance? All right, progress. We have Community Relations Planning and Development Committee, Chairman Dufresne.
We have one thing for official action tonight. We did meet with, the committee met with Brittany Stevens earlier tonight. And we're making a recommendation to council to appoint Brittany Stevens to the Emmaus Arts Commission with a term expiring 2/7/2019.
So motion on the floor by Councilman Dufresne. Is there a second? Councilman Schubsta. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Our next meeting is October 12th at 4 o'clock. Progress.
Thank you. You have meeting minutes from 3 organizations to look at. Personal appeals part 2. If anyone has a personal appeal, approach the podium and sign in. Hearing none. Borough Manager's report.
The significant revenue and expense items for September are in your iPads. If you have any questions on that, I'll report progress.
Thank you. Under President's business, we will recess for an executive session to discuss contract negotiations. Is there anything else besides contract negotiations?
We're gonna deal with that next time, right?
Correct.
So no, that's it.
All right. So at this time, we will adjourn at not adjourn, I'm sorry, recess at 7:30 for executive session.
All right, we're up.
We are reconvening at 8:40. Is there a motion to adjourn? Councilman Dufresne, seconded by Councilman Barrett. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Meeting adjourned at 8:41. Go Eagles.
did that once.
That was